right, I want to welcome everybody to another MCOE Best Practices Show. I'm here again today with Chris Martinez. Now, Chris and I had a session maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Awesome session. I'm sure many of you have already seen it or at least seen the replay. But Chris and I are reconvening for another session today because he's got some really exciting news to talk about, some things that he's been doing in their agency. So I want to welcome Chris to the show. Chris, great to be with you again.
Thank you, sir, for having me on and meeting me early this morning. I know you got a lot going on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome to have you. So the Marketing Center of Excellence, for those of you who aren't clued in or haven't heard of it before, we're just a group of agencies that come together. I try to put out master classes and do interviews like this with influencers and experts in our industry like Chris, so that agencies and the followers of the Marketing Center of Excellence can simply share best practices, learn best practices, strategies, tactics that are working, and just really learn from really influential people in the industry. So that's really the goal here with the Marketing Center of Excellence. Really happy to have Chris here to kind of share again his experience and also some exciting news. So Chris, why don't we start off by sharing what the new news is about in your world?
Yeah, thank you so much. So when I was on your show, I think it was still during the COVID times. I was the CEO and founder of Dude. So
Dude
I
Agency.
started, Dude Agency. So I started that in 2017. And what happened is that in 2015, I set up a company in Mexico, and I found a way to hire and recruit and train people in Mexico for my own agency. And this was revolutionary back then, 2015, 9 years ago. And at the time, nobody was really tapping into Latin America,
It was
specifically
all
Mexico.
Philippines and India, basically, right?
Philippines and then India, right?
Yeah.
And so I'd found this little niche back in 2015 of finding talent. And fast forward a couple of years, because my agency had grown, we had a couple hundred employees, or I'm sorry, a couple hundred clients. I'm like, well, what if I can help other agencies get access to this talent? That's where Dude came from. We had hundreds and hundreds of employees that we hired and trained. We worked with hundreds of agencies, millions in revenue, whatever. It was a really, really cool story. And we started to help agencies to scale their talent with people in Mexico. And then we expanded to other parts of Latin America. And so around 2020 was like a really breakout year for us, actually, because COVID happened and then everybody was locked up. And then, like we had all the digital agencies. Everybody's virtual. So now they're more open to finding talent. And of course, we had access to this hidden talent pool, spoke English, worked the same time zones. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So we grew really quickly. And then around 2022, because we had such good systems and processes in place and we knew how to run agencies, our clients started asking us, hey, how do I improve my profitability? How are you guys training people? How are you finding people? Tell me about this leadership team concept, or like, what should my org chart look like? All these questions about how to run the business. And so, of course, just us being nice people, we would be like, oh yeah, here's what you do. And so we started to consult with marketing agencies and teach them how to run the business more effectively. And at the same time, we started to see there were some other technologies that were coming up that were making it easier for people in the US, marketing agencies in the US, to source talent in Latin America. And that was our huge competitive advantage when we started Dude in 2017. And so we started to see this shift, and we saw this writing on the wall that, like the business model that we had of kind of being the middleman of connecting the marketing agencies together and then staying that middleman forever. We're like, that's probably not going to be a long-term business model for us. But at the same time, the consulting is starting to take off because we're helping these agencies so much. And we just started to think about, like, what if we showed these marketing agencies or helped them to source talent on their own and work with those folks directly? What if we did that? Because we're still kind of solving that bigger problem, or like we're like the thing that really drives us of creating opportunities and helping people to reach their potential, where we're connecting people in Latin America with the agencies. But we could remove ourselves from being that middleman and still fulfill that kind of altruistic goal, right? We can still do that. But then there's also these bigger problems that we can solve. Like, what if we can improve the business on a bigger scale and help them grow profitability, and ultimately one day help them to sell the business. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
think that our industry is fairly new. I think it's maybe, let's just say 20 years old, more or less. And people are getting to the point where they're wanting to build this business as an asset that they can sell one day. And so we started to recognize we can help our agency owners to fulfill those dreams too. Wouldn't that be cool? Like, how's that for a mission if we help them to reach their potential on that bigger scale where they're able to sell that business for 5, 10,
Yeah.
15 million, right? That would be really, really neat. And so out of that came Bloom. And so we did a whole big rebrand last month. And Bloom, yeah. So bloompartners.io is our website. And if you look at the product, right? So like, we figured out before we did the launch how to get these great results for our clients. And so I'll just throw out some stats. Like, in the first 90 days of working with us, we see our agencies grow their revenue by 18.71%. That's an average, right? So that's pretty cool. But let's talk about the gross margin.
90 days?
First 90 days. On average.
For revenue, like, so let's just dive into that real quick, because that's a pretty quick, like, I would say if you told me 6 months, I'd be okay. But 3 months, it's pretty hard. You got to build a pipeline and then close that pipeline. So you're right at the tip of 90 days. Is that
well, that's
so what's some of the secrets there why is that happening?
There's a couple things. So first of all, most of our agencies have never ever had sales quotas. And they've never, like, we are marketing people, but we're also terrible at our own marketing.
I think it's true.
So when you quantify, hey, how many leads do I need to generate to be able to, and what's my close rate? And then I now have these sales quotas that I need to hit. That's the low-hanging fruit right there. But hold on that, Lane, because the revenue is cool, but revenue is also kind of a vanity metric in our industry, right? I can't tell you how many agencies come to us and they're a 7-figure agency or a multiple 7-figure agency, but I see their numbers and I see how many of them are not actually making very much money.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, man, this is, this because you run an agency and you run a software company. Running an agency is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
It's one of the hardest things that you can do. I've worked in a lot of different industries. Running a marketing agency is incredibly difficult. So here's a cooler stat. Gross margin improvement in the first 90 days, 39.47%. This is where the operations manager finally has a budget, right? How many times do you see marketing agencies and the operations manager has absolutely no idea about the numbers and what they should be spending to get the work completed and how to manage the business with a budget? That's one of the things that we help them with, right? Because you're asking about that. The other great thing is the net. We're seeing an improvement in the net on average first 90 days, 230 net profit. Yeah. 234.9% improvement in their net in the first 90 days. That's an average. Now, let me put that into context for you.
Are agencies really overspending that much? It's just
incredibly.
Really?
Incredibly. And it's not their fault, because everybody always focuses on revenue, right? So like the agencies that come to us, they're typically pretty good at getting new clients, but it's running the business and not seeing the fruits of their labor in the profitability.
Operations and fulfillment are the killer in the agency.
Exactly. Right. So what I was going to say is that when they work with us, it's kind of like a diet. Right? If nobody's ever worked out before, they're like, you're super, super fit. Those first 90 days, if you've never exercised before, those first 90 days, if you work with a trainer,
you change in those first 90 days, and you start to
crazy results, right?
Yeah.
Then it starts to taper off. So I do want to put that disclaimer out there. There's a lot of things that we can improve in the first 90 days. And then we get it back under a manageable level. And then it's slow and steady improvement until we get the business where ideally we want 20% of the revenue going back to the owner as their salary, and we want 30% net, right? So ultimately 50% going back to the agency owner. That's the goal, right? So those are some of the things that we're accomplishing right now that motivated us to want to do this big relaunch and rebrand of the business, which is a massive undertaking. I will tell you, it's not easy to do.
A little bit of a strategic shift, though, too. You went from doing, fulfilling and actually, like you said, being that middleman.
Yeah.
Where I could see even, like if you're the more successful you are at finding the right talent for the agency as a middleman,
yeah,
the more tension builds into that relationship as time goes on, because that agency's got this employee for say 2, 3, 4 years. And
Right.
they're like, it's almost like the relationship is there between them and the employee now, that who you recruited. Here you are still there in the relationship. And so I can see that the more successful you guys are at actually helping the agency with great talent, it almost undermines you too as time goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame the agencies for feeling that way, and I don't blame the agents for wanting to just work directly. I get it.
Sure.
Like that's what they want. Why? So if that's what our clients want,
right? I mean, you saw this dynamic and you're like, hey, let's just strategically shift here and help agencies. Yes, with this thing, but also with the much bigger issues that are actually going to pay bigger dividends besides just
call me old fashioned, but I believe in win-win-win opportunities, right? So like with the outsourcing business, I think it's very natural, as you brought up, for the agency and the agent to want to work directly over a period of time. And back when we started as kind of like this middleman with our outsourcing, they had to go through us, right? There was no other option, but now there are. And so we can still help them build an amazing team all around the world if they want to, because we're so good at hiring and staffing. That's one of the 8 things that we do. Actually, one of the first things that we look at it within an agency is their infrastructure and their team, right?
People,
and
profit, right? The 3 Ps.
Exactly. Do they have a solid talent acquisition and hiring and training process? If they don't, we go in and we can help them set that up, right? So
you're really coming alongside the agency that bloom. You're coming alongside the agency owner and just helping them meet the needs, fill in the gaps, deficiencies, put in processes where they need to, and then just
100%. I was talking to a guy yesterday on my podcast. He used to work for Accenture, and he was talking about the things that they would do at Accenture, like come in and build out processes and solve these problems of how to run the business. I'm like, this is exactly what we do. We're just working with marketing agencies.
Yeah.
Right. And there's typically eight things that we need to help an agency put into place for them really to realize their potential. So the first one is we got to be able to fulfill and get our clients results. Absolutely, at scale, we have to be able to fulfill and get the client's results. Most lead generation and sales problems for agencies end up being product problems. Like if you get your clients' results and they're getting leads and sales, if you're doing that at scale for your clients, you'll have more business than you know what to do with.
Right.
So we help them solve that one. Next is cash and profit management. That's one that we can solve very quickly.
I want to learn from you here on this. So the 8 things. So cash and profit management.
Yeah. So the first one was consistent fulfillment and client results. The second one is cash and profit management. That's essentially building out the budgets and showing them how to manage the money.
Yep.
The next one is the leadership team. We need to have a leadership team in place so everything doesn't fall back on the owner. The owner is always going to be the bottleneck. For sure. You need capable people that understand their KPIs for performance and can deliver the results that we need to get the ball moving down the field consistently.
100%.
The fourth one that I mentioned is talent acquisition. We got to have systems in place to bring in great people. You cannot grow the agency without amazing talent. We're small businesses, right? Most agencies that we work with are under 100 employees. Every person matters. The fifth one is going to be client retention. It makes it way easier to have that when you have an amazing product and you have great people.
Yep.
The next one is going to be lead generation. Also, when we have an amazing product and amazing people, lead generation gets a lot easier. We do need to also, the seventh one is going to be pricing and packaging. We got to make sure that we're selling things that are appealing to our audience and that what they care about. Yep. And then the eighth thing is they got to have a plan and they got to have a guide. I don't know, and you would probably agree with this, I don't know a single successful business person that doesn't have somebody in their corner that they can go to when they have issues. Yesterday, I had an issue. I went to my business partner. His day job, he's a CFO of a publicly traded company. And I said, hey, man, I'm having this problem. What do I do? He texts me back. He gives me like this amazing script to use. I'm like, oh, my God, this is so great. You need somebody in your corner who's been there and done it and can help you avoid these pitfalls. So if you have all 8 of those things, I'm not going to say that running the business, running the agency is easy, but it's a lot easier. And the cool thing about what we do, my opinion, is that there's a lot of like coaches out there. And the coaches will be like, okay, here's this training, go through it. Let me know if you have any questions.
Right.
Or jump on this webinar and I'll show you what to do. So obviously we're going to do that too, but our team actually goes in and helps with the implementation and the execution. That's why we are management consultants and not coaches, because our team actually goes in and helps you to develop the SOPs and the reporting and trains your people how to do it. We are side by side with your agency because our ultimate goal is to help you get through whatever bottlenecks you're dealing with today, but we want to help you grow. And then eventually we want to help you do the exits. And that's where my business partner, Alan, comes in, who's done over $500 million in mergers and acquisitions and took a company public. He's going to come in and help you realize your dreams of doing the exit one day, which will happen. It will happen.
It happens sooner than I think a lot of people think too.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to be making $10 million a year to sell your agency. Like you can have a smaller agency that's very profitable and very attractive to a lot of
I'll give you a target. 5 million revenue, 30% EBITDA, you will sell for 10 million. Do that. Let's get there. 5 million seems very doable, especially once you cross, I would say, that 1.5 or $2 million revenue mark. You start to see, wow, 5 million's not that far away, right?
Especially
I can do this.
Number 7, right? Packaging and pricing. If you get your pricing wrong, getting to the higher revenue, is much harder. Like you can get to 5 million a year with 100 clients or 10 clients or 1,000 clients or 100 clients. It just depends on your packaging and your pricing.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways that you can get there. The challenge that most agency owners face, and I would actually love to hear some of your stories about this, is that we kind of don't know what to do. Like, I feel like as an agency owner, if you don't have the right plan, you're kind of like reactionary, or it feels like you're just blindly throwing darts at a dartboard. What if you can make these decisions more strategically? So I have a new book coming out. It's called Facts, Not Feelings. And it basically is all about how to run the business by data and numbers. And so we let the data and numbers tell us, hey, this is where the gap is. This is what we need to fix. Let's create a plan so that we can attack that weakness. And then that will help us to grow the business to this revenue and this profit, right?
There's the confidence that gives an agency owner or any company owner is immense. And you can't even really properly estimate the actual ROI on that confidence that you get as a company owner or agency owner once you have that confidence and your decisions are now being made strategically and it's not all on your own. Like that's you made this insight, but I think for those of you who are listening, don't overlook what Chris said there, and that is you've got to have people in your corner who can advise you, who can answer questions, and sometimes even being in a mastermind really isn't the solution. Like I think a lot of times as agency owners, we want to go just, I got to get in a mastermind because that's where I'm going to get all my answers, to my burning questions and build my agency. And that can be true, but oftentimes masterminds are too big to really be able to say, I've got a person I can call, or these are my two advisors in my corner who I can call. This is this one's expertise. This is this one's expertise. And if I have an issue in operations or fulfillment, I can call Chris. If I have legal or sales questions, I can call whatever, right? But there's so many agency owners who actually couldn't say, I have this person, put their name, write their name now. Who do you have right now in your corner you can actually call right now, who will pick up the phone, not treat you like you're putting them out and, or not return your call because they're so busy. Like, who can you actually rely on to get those burning questions answered so that you're making strategic decisions and not like, I hope decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Right. Like having that Rolodex is so helpful. Like, just the other day.
Huge for me. I can't even tell you, this isn't my first business as an agency. So I know a lot about building companies and building businesses, but there's still blind spots and there's still issues and there's still challenges. And even if you know the answers yourself, you still it's still wise and prudent to check that against somebody who's a little bit more objective.
Yeah. I mean, right now we're getting a lot of questions, like partner issues, like how do I deal with this with my partner? Employee issues. We had somebody who had to change their comp plan. Actually, they recognized that the comp plan that they had set up was making the company unprofitable. So they had to revamp the comp plan. How do I roll that out to the person and not piss them off, right? Because salespeople don't like to have their comp plan changed. We had another question about lead generation that came up recently. How can we improve lead generation? Lots of training issues, or not issues, but like training questions, like how can I train my leadership team member in operations or customer experience to meet their KPIs? Like how do I, lots of financial questions about creating budgets and stuff like that. All of those things we already know how to do, so it's like, just come to us. We'll walk you through it, hold your hand step by step. It's not just me, of course, too. Like we have our whole team doing that.
I've seen so many agencies spend years I equate it to, a really truck in mud, right? You're just spinning the wheels, and
Oh yeah. I've been there myself too.
yeah, like, the speedometer says you're doing 40 miles an hour, but, or 60 miles an hour, but you're not moving, and so, and that's, I largely attribute that to because a lot of agency owners are just they're kind of fumbling through the process of growing the agency, right? They're just,
yes,
I think I should do this. I think this is the right thing. Oh, I heard over there in this Facebook group that this is going to work here,
yes.
and so they just are kind of piecing this thing together and by trial and error. And what that was, and so if you're listening to this and you're in the same place you were 6 months ago, 12 months ago, 24 months ago, whatever the case may be, you're not getting that traction. You're just kind of spinning the wheels.
Yeah.
And it feels like that too. Like it does when you're in that mode as an agency where you're not making those strategic decisions, you're growing and then you're churning. And we all have bad months. That happens, right? But if there's these things, these issues in your agency, and you're trying to build it by trial and error, you don't have an advisor or two in your corner, you can spend 5 years of your life and then look back and go, man, I really haven't progressed a whole lot. I'm not really any closer to my goals being achieved than I was 5 years ago. And yet you've been really, really busy for 5 years,
Yeah. I mean, I've felt that before, like my own personal story is when I was growing Dude at the beginning from 2017 to 2019, I'd grown that business. Well, 2018 was really like our breakout year. I'd gone from 0 to about 900K, between 800 and 900K in a couple of years, but not very profitable. And it's like, I'm working my tail off. How am I still only making 70 grand? And I couldn't figure out why there's never money left over at the end of the month. I don't know if you've ever had this before where it's like, you have the best sales month ever. And you're like, sweet, finally going to be able to take that distribution. Then we look at the bottom line. What the heck happened? Where'd all the money go? Right. So I had some mentors at the time. Russ Perry from Design Pickle was one of those folks that helped me out tremendously. He showed me what to do. And he's like, this is what your gross margin should be. And I'm like, what's a gross margin? And I learned from him. And then Alan stepped in and helped me. And I've had all these other mentors along the way that helped me to grow that business. I think it's time to pay it forward, right? That's kind of like another motivation. Like I'm doing this obviously because we're here to make money as a business. But for me, a lot of it is about the legacy that I leave behind. I didn't come from an entrepreneurial family. Like we weren't poor. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not going to say that I came from nothing, but my family didn't know. Like I never learned anything about personal finances or how to save money or build a business. Like my dad, when my dad passed away, he didn't own any real estate or any other assets. We had to pay off a lot of things that he still owed money on after he passed away. I don't want other people to have to go through that.
Yeah.
Like I'm big on trying to solve people from going through the hardships that I had to go through, not because of anybody else's fault, but it's just the way that it is. Not everybody grows up having those examples around them. I think it would be pretty cool with this business to be able to show those people how to actually build true wealth by building their agency as an asset that they can do an exit one day. Pretty cool. I think that'd be a good legacy. If I died tomorrow and I helped one person, it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, there's an amazing intrinsic benefit of just helping people, paying it forward, being that go-giver. I'm the same way. I love it. I get a lot of satisfaction, out of hearing when an agency just comes back and says thank you. That really helped me.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I got a text from a gal that we helped her get a job. So she was working for an agency, and then that relationship didn't work out. And like she texted me, she's like, "Hey, I'm looking for a job." She just moved back across the country to be closer to her family. I'm like, "Hey, don't worry, I got you." And I found her a job with one of our clients. Didn't make any money out of this at all. It was just me trying to do the right thing. Found her a job. She sends me a text. She's like, "Thank you so much for connecting me. I've been heads down, and I apologize. I should have sent this earlier. I'm loving my job. I'm learning so much. Appreciate it." I was like, "Dude, this is the best text that I've gotten all month. Thank you so much for reaching out. You know, like that's really, really good. I think
It
that's
doesn't
fun.
make your day, it makes your week, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think, you know, before we close it out here, I'd also like to stress the importance of profitability. You mentioned it, you know, gross revenue is vanity, and I really believe in that.
Yes.
You know, you got to go back to your why as a company owner or agency owner. You know, what is your why? You know, I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting to build a 10 or a $20 million agency business. There's nothing. That's great. It's fantastic. It'll be, you know, there's nothing wrong with building a $1 or a $2 million agency. There's nothing wrong with building a $500,000 a year agency if it pays you well and it helps you achieve your why, right? So
Yep.
don't get caught up in the gross revenue. Now I'm hearing 8-figure agencies being tossed on the 8-figure masterminds. That's going to be the 9-figure. I just saw yesterday one dude posted about the 9-figure, you know.
It's just going to keep going up. It's a lot easier too with inflation.
Why are you pretend you're in a 9-figure mastermind? You're not even doing 7. Come on. You know, but anyway, I digress. There's a lot of hype around that, right? 7, 8 figures, whatever it might be. Nothing wrong with that. But if you go back to your why and you build a company that fits for you, and then you can sell that company that you built that was right for you, you'll find a right buyer for the right company that you built for you, who's the right next person that you can exit with, right? So, and you'll be way more comfortable in your skin doing what you feel like is best for you and not getting caught up in, you know, all the hype around, you know, gross revenue, because ultimately it's what you put in your pocket, and is it helping you achieve your why, which for most people has nothing to do with money. Most people's why has to do with people and relationships and memories and, you know, things like that that are really obviously legacy and way more important than, you know, how much money you make in a given month. So I want to just kind of stress that for those of you who are listening, because Chris mentioned it, but, you know, again, it's easy to kind of just pass right by that. Gross revenue is vanity. Focus on profit, and that's what they're helping. You know, and when you can get profitable, it actually alleviates so much stress too. Because, you know, when you know you're not profitable, and you know it's that tight, you know, budget every month where your revenue and your expenses are just almost equal, and you're like, what can I pay myself this month? Can I give myself that bonus? Do I have to like eat it this month because we're, you know, when you're running that tightrope, that's stressful. That sucks, right? And so
100%.
When you can get profitable and you can eliminate all these, I mean, what was the stat you gave me again? It was
234.9% increase in net income in the first 90 days is what we're seeing.
That's mind-boggling, honestly. That's ridiculous. So imagine the stress relief that comes with that type of, even if it's just 100%, like forget 234%.
Yeah.
If you get 50 to 100% more profitable in 90 days, the stress that takes off of the company owner is immense. And then again, as you alleviate stress, as you build confidence, as you start making strategic decisions, everything starts to fall into place. And that confidence starts to actually exude you as a company owner. Like you can just, you know, how you carry yourself, you sell better, you're more confident with your clients, you're a better leader with your team. Like it just flows into every other part of your business. What do you think?
I would say you're also a better family man. You're also a better friend, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm not saying that, let me be clear. I'm not saying that money solves all your problems. If anything, I say that money is an outcome of you being great and all those other things outside of the business. But at the same time, to your point, having a profitable business does inspire you or fill your cup, if that's your term, right? Like it helps you to have more confidence to be a better person. Here, I'm going to let you in on a little secret before we have to check out. So obviously everybody has an exit, right? They have a number that they want to get to. But one of the things that we tell our clients at the very beginning is, here's the deal. We want you to build a business that you never want to sell. Now, why is that? Because imagine you have this agency that runs on its own. You're working maybe 20, 30 hours a week by choice, not because you're forced to. You get the leadership team that's running everything for you. Everybody's hitting their KPIs. They know what they have to do to help the company grow and to win. It's just a well-oiled machine. It's very profitable. You're making a great income. Well, for somebody to come in and buy your agency with all those systems and processes in place and all those amazing people, you get a great product, amazing lead generation. They're going to have to make you a really, really good offer, right?
I was gonna say, you build that agency you're talking about, right? it's going to make it easier to sell, and you'll get more for it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's
Yeah.
kind of like one of the secrets that we tell them is like, I know you want to sell the business, and that's kind of like one of the reasons why you signed up with this, is that one day you want to be able to do that exit. But we're going to help you build a business that you never ever want to sell.
Or
Because
or at
when
least it
you
really
do
doesn't
that,
have to be. Like I could sell, I can keep,
yeah,
like if I get offer, great, let's do it. If I don't, no big deal.
yeah,
That's really kind of where I'm at in my agency. Like I have a phenomenal team. It took me many, many years of trial and error. We talked about the trial and error phases of our growth.
yeah,
But once I figured that out, how it was talent acquisition. I had to figure that out, right? I knew I had to build my leadership team. We run at a 47% profit right now in our agency, which is
that's
almost
incredible.
unheard of, especially in white label.
Yep.
We know how to fulfill and get results. That kind of goes back to our team, right? So a lot of these boxes I was able to check. It wasn't because I had somebody like amazing like you guiding me along the way. It was just trial and error. I've been doing it for 15 years. And it's really only been in the last, I'd say 7, where I feel like I was really in my sweet spot. So you'd say almost half the time was like trial and error, learning. In 8 years, like in what you're hearing from Chris, is 3 months, no brainer. So let's close on this. If an agency owner wants to explore a relationship with you guys, what does that look like, and how do they?
Yeah, it's very simple and very transparent on everything, right? So the first step, book a call with us, 20 minutes. We can ask you some questions and see if you're in a place where we can actually help you. The next thing that we do is a business analysis. So we'll look at your company infrastructure. We'll actually build out an org chart for you, show you like what are the missing pieces in terms of people. Also give you the KPIs for every team member of like what they need to be measuring to be successful in their role. Yeah, we'll look at the entire. You're basically going to send us your entire company roster. And their job titles. We're going to build out this org chart for you and show you everything that we know and what are some of the missing pieces, things like that. That's one live call that we do with you. So the second part is the finances. So you're going to send us your P&Ls. We're going to look at those for at least 12 months. Usually we like to see all of 2023 and then what we've done so far in 2024. And we'll analyze and we'll show you trend lines and like, hey, these are some of the gaps, right? It's like we need to lower your cost of goods. That's a big thing that we need to be able to fix. Your revenue is very up and down. So we've got to improve that lead generation system. Your churn rate is too high. Like what happened in this month? And so we'll analyze those things and we'll basically show you this roadmap of what you need to fix to be able to get to whatever your goal is. 3 million revenue, 5 million revenue, 10 million revenue, whatever, right? It doesn't matter. You tell us what you want to accomplish. And we sell that. It's the business analysis. It's only $14.97 one-time investment. You get handed this roadmap, and then you decide, do I want to do this on my own, or do I want Bloom to be able to help us? And then you come to us in the first 6 months. We will analyze what we need to do to help you fix those problems. The business analysis, by the way, is money back guarantee. So if you're like, hey, this wasn't worth it, I'll give you your money back. And then if you decided to work with us on the retainer for the 6 months, the first month also comes with a money back guarantee. So if you're not 100% certain that we're the right fit for you, I'll just give you your money back, right? And that's it. That's the whole model.
Awesome.
Yep.
So agencies that might be interested, obviously you can find Chris on Facebook, LinkedIn, all those social channels, but you can go to their website. Got it running here on the ticker below, bloompartners.io. Get in touch with Chris, explore a potential relationship. I can certainly tell you he really knows what he's talking about. He's helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of agencies over his years. I've learned from him myself, even today, taking notes. So highly encourage agency owners especially if you feel like, I know I've got lots of opportunity, and I know I'm just not leveraging it. I'm not capturing all that opportunity. I'm kind of spinning my wheels. If you kind of feel like, hey, let me ask you, I was going to ask you this too, just so agencies know if they're a good fit for you, if you're a good fit for them. Is like a minimum revenue that you like to see in an agency before you can say, we can't help you?
Yeah.
Not here yet.
It's a great question. So yes, I would say, if you're under 500K annually, we might not be able to work with you. If you're sub 10K, definitely we're not the right fit. I mean, listen to our podcast. 20K per month is even a little bit low. Our sweet spot is really like when you're in that 750, 1 million, upwards of 3 or 4 million in revenue. That's where we really see the massive improvement.
It's hard. It's not a problem that we have. I mean, if you're at 10, 20K, 30K a month, you have kind of one big problem. It's sales and lead generation.
Right, exactly. So I was going to say, like, if you haven't found product market fit, and you don't have a team, ideally like at least one leadership team seat or somebody who can be there in a leadership team seat that we can train, it's probably a little bit too early. But once you have product market fit and you've got clients and revenue and you've got team members, then we can come in and, basically help you see that.
Company bloom.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. That's how the term came from.
I got it.
You're the
Awesome.
man, Lane.
Man, I really appreciate you spending the time with me again. It's great to reconvene. Congratulations on the new brand and the new launch or relaunch. Super happy for you guys, and I know you're going to have a huge impact on the industry using your experience and this new focus on helping agencies as more of a partner, as a Bloom partner. So
yes, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on the show.
yeah, for sure. Great to reconvene with you. Talk to you soon, buddy.